let's see. Furman, is that, well, let's see, I can look over here. How are we spelling Furman?
Brian Furman.
Say again?
Brian Furman.
Brian.
Yeah. He was our medic in 69, late 69.
Okay.
He was at B-43?
He was at Xoai. I don't know.
He was at A-421?
Yes.
What was his name again?
Brian Furman, F-U-R-M-A-N.
He was a medic.
He would be correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got there, I think, in July, June or July. Because I got hit in June, and then he showed up right after that.
Furman, I did and sent him an email. You should have had his email on the list.
Yeah.
That was a good email, didn't bounce. So I have him there from July to November of 69. Who was the other person you asked about?
O'Hanlon. Dan O'Hanlon.
And where was his job?
He was O5B4S. He was the commo.
Yeah. I sent him an email, which I believe may or may not have bounced, but I have not been able to reach him on the telephone.
Okay.
And there you are, and you're okay. Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, here's Cowan. Here's the guy we were talking about this morning. And who else we got here?
Everybody here from 421?
They're all here from 421 at different times.
Well, it's good to see all of you. It's good to see all of you.
Yeah, welcome home, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you very much. Let me mute this. Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Would it be worthwhile to check the time frame to see
That's
where
not,
overlaps maybe?
that's what I'm about to do here. I
Okay.
believe that although you are somewhat late in the history, you are the earliest person from Xoai that's here among this particular group of people. That's John Alexander.
Yeah, I was there from January 68. They had the camp until December of 68.
Okay. Anybody was there earlier than that?
Actually,
Yeah, I was there in 67.
Terry?
yeah, I was there 67. Got there, I think, in October, November 67, and was there. John and I overlapped just a little bit. He was taking over as commander as I was moving up to S1 at B-42.
Okay. All right, let's start with your, Terry, let's start with your recollections. If somebody comes in from an earlier time frame, we'll bring them in and fill in the holes.
Okay, well, as I said, I was there only for a short period of time, and when I got there, I was the junior officer in C4, so I got tapped to be the pay officer for all SF in the Corps down there. So I had to go not more than get settled in, and had to turn around and go back to the train, pick up the payroll, and come back and pay everybody in the Corps and go back. So that took probably a month or close to a month of the 3 months I was there. So, but I guess some of my memories are they had great chow. There had a mama son that somebody had taught how to cook Southern, and she really produced some great chow. And for TET of 68, I was on NUICOM with an NCO who I cannot recall his name now, but we had a company of the Cambodian troops up there on patrol, and we stood down for the tent truce, and in the middle of the night woke up with it sounded like a 4th of July celebration in Atlanta when with all the stuff that was going on, and we got a radio on and found out that the truce had been broken, and of course then we were ordered back into the camp there to get ready to go on further. I guess some of the things that I remember, I was the second XO there, did PSYOPs, and remember doing a lot of med caps with a specialist Giles, who was later wounded in action, I think on Xoai, and we as I mentioned in the B-42 session we had a little earlier, we got one of the 20 or so Duroc hogs that they'd brought in to try to improve the Vietnamese hog operation there, and he was promptly wounded by we assume VC. He was shot during the night, and quite an effort getting him nursed back to health. But Specialist Giles was the main person who worked on him there too. And then we finally, after we did get the hog breeding operation started, we got several of their little sows bred after building a apparatus that we could put them in so this big old Duroc hog could mount them. But that was an interesting experiment. Didn't last very long. They took those boars back pretty soon. I guess I don't know if they figured out that if it was going to be successful, that it wasn't going to last very long. So they did get, but we did. That was an interesting experiment to do. And I guess that one of the main things, one of my fondest memories there is operating quite a bit with our scout platoon that was in the Cambodian battalion there, and the old scout platoon leader there was more than old enough to have been my father at the time. Kind of took me under his wing, and we had a lot of good times together there, talking about his experiences. And he had been around since Dien Bien Phu. In fact, he told me he had parachuted into Dien Bien Phu during the siege there, and was probably the only jump he ever made. But great guy. Didn't speak much English, and I didn't speak any Cambodian and not much French. But we did, through interpreters, have opportunity to talk, and learned quite a bit from him. But that's in my brief period of time there. That's some of the memories that I have of A-421. Great people there. I do remember that. I remember the intel sergeant by the name of Baker. I ran into him later on in assignments down the road. As I told the folks there this morning, when I left active duty after getting back from Vietnam, I went to the National Guard and spent my entire career there, most of it full time in the Guard, and retired as the Adjutant General of Georgia back in 2011.
Let me share the screen here, just for perspective. Here's a map with Xoai and the FOB at Bachuk, and earlier TDY team was at Tuong. Here's Nui Kham, and this is Nui Xoai.
Yeah.
So everybody here should have a sort of placement. Chi Lin was up here on the other side. So that pretty well.
Steve, I might mention, as I did in the B-42 there earlier, my wife and I had an opportunity to go back to Vietnam about 5 years ago, and I made it down to Chao Duc, Ba Xoai, and Chi Lang, and went to the I guess the war memorial type thing that the Vietnamese have put in down
Let's
on.
clarify, the Communist War Memorial.
I'll say again.
Let's clarify, the Communist
Right,
War.
yeah, right, yeah. But that was spent a day down there, crawling through all of the caverns and the rocks and all that on Xoai that we'd seen from the other side. But it was quite an experience to go back, and enjoyed traveling through that area. Got a guide that had grown up in the area down there to drive us around, and got to see things as they are now. Quite a bit of difference. The little village of Xoai has not changed that much. Yeah, they're still farming with water buffalo and sort of subsistence farming is how they survive. The one thing that I did notice different is down in the little village square, little village market, they had a cell phone shop. So I guess you can't escape those anywhere you go.
John, you went back again too.
Yeah, you might send out the article. Some know that SFA Chapter 78 does something called the Sentinel. I did an article for them called "When the Hood Went to Hell," because it was, after I left, the camp was actually invaded. And part of it overtaken a couple of times. Nui Calm, which was relatively calm during the period that we were there, became quite a stronghold. I might say we went back and was filming a documentary. The amazing thing was that it was like the camp, not only was it not there, it was like it never existed. The jungle had taken over everything. The only thing we found, if you remember the berm that was facing to the west, to the south end of that, which was anchored by a 50 cal machine gun, and we found the base of that. But all of the big stone buildings and the walls and all that were just totally gone. There is a new camp now that the Vietnamese have. I might mention we were taken into custody while we were filming there, which was kind of interesting. But they're just a little bit to the north and in the lowlands, not attached to the mountains themselves. On the east side, where the pagodas were, there are new temples. Also mentioned that ethnic cleansing has taken place, and they've moved most of the Cambodians out, and the areas now is ethnic Vietnamese. It was quite an experience, and Steve, you got a copy, I think, of that article. So
The article is posted up on the Special Forces
Yeah.
Books website under A-421.
okay, and the other thing that folks don't know is a few years after we all left the area was the massacre at Bachuk. This was done by the Khmer Rouge, where they came in and executed thousands of people, moving them out of the area. So anyway, it was quite an interesting experience. Like I said, while we were there, I was there all of '68. It was rare, I think almost never, to take casualties in camp. And I understand later on they were taking 8 to 10 casualties per day just from the continuous mortaring that was taking place from Nui Camp. I mentioned, and if you were there, you can now drive to the top of Nui Camp. There's actually a road that goes up there where areas we had huge problems getting to. I say it generally looked the same. If you're driving down the roads, it was very, very similar. The only difference was that there were posts up with TV antennas on top, but the rest of it looked pretty familiar.
That massacre happened after the war, when the Khmer Rouge came across the border against
Yeah.
the Vietnamese, trying to retake Lower Cambodia without much success.
But if you look up, there's something you can find information on called the Ba Chuk massacre.
In fact, was anybody there when they tried to get the Cambodian head off the mountain, and they had his son in the camp, and they used that to get him to come out and Xoai? Well, that's not a story that anybody's around in. I'll look that up in a minute. Dick, you were there about this time, about late '67.
Yeah, I was there for a month in August of 1967 as the demo man there. And I was also the 4-deuce gunner. I just spent a month there was all before I de-roast.
Anything exciting happen?
Yeah, when one time, well, I knew that Ba Chuk was in a dangerous situation, and I figured out about where an attacking force would probably come towards the camp, and I registered the 4-deuce mortar on that area. And about a week after I did that, sure enough, a call came in from Ba Chuk saying they had been attacked, and they wanted supporting fire. And I sent off a first round using that registration point, and they said fire for effect, that it had hit right where it needed to hit. So I fired one after another. I didn't even check to make sure that the tube was getting hot. The tube got so hot that after a few rounds, I had a misfire where when I dropped the round down the tube, I heard this and the round just barely made it over the berm. So I ended up having to cool off a tube before I continued. And they said that it beat back the attack. So I was happy about that.
Let me follow up on that, because we lost Ba Chuk. And what had happened is that there had been a BC battalion training on Nui Jai, ended the training cycle, had the battalion hit it one night. By the time we got there with the rescue force, it had been totally overrun. But most impressively, the only thing we found was that the gate had been physically moved aside. They had never had to take it outside, and the captain, the hell was his name? It turns out that the LLDB captain had gone over to the VC, and that day had brought a number of recruits in. And if you know, it was a triangle fort, and everybody went to their compartments to prevent the attack. And these guys just went down the line and executed them from behind. Of course, you didn't know what was happening in the area next to them. But it's 100% KIA. About 50% of the troops had been outside on various patrols, and they were able to get away. But everybody inside the port, or Ba Chuk itself, was massacred.
So John, what about the rest of your tour?
Oh, well, that's the thing going on. If you remember Major Ball, who was the LLDB commander, and just, as crooked as a snake, he had, I don't know how many people that were supposedly on the payroll because he was selling CIDG ID cards. Because if they were SIDS, then you weren't gonna eligible for the draft. Like I say, had 4 times that I know of that he tried to have me killed. And they're not sure what happened to them after the whole area fell. Captain Quan was one. He was a lieutenant for a while. And interestingly, he was about to get promoted and to take over as the LLDB commander of Xoai, and he was the one that went, they say, turned BC. It was interesting because when we were counterattacking, so Mike Force had come in, we had sent a couple of companies down to retake Bachuk. We never did reoccupy it, but there was this buzz going around, and my main interpreter coming up. I said, "What's going on? There's strange conversations going on," and they say, "Oh, Quan was BC," and that's how they learned that he had gone over and orchestrated this whole attack on the camp.
John, did you
Probably a
have,
good thing it didn't happen while when he did get to Xoai, or that would have been a different matter.
John, when you were there, did you have an interpreter by the name of Sakwa?
I'm not sure. I don't remember their Cambodian names.
Okay.
One was Mike.
Yeah.
Was Chow something, huh?
Yeah, was one Joe? A young guy? Sakwa was older. Sakwa
I don't remember. Mike was the one, and like I say, it was Cambodian. He had been I remember he had been a monk for 6 years, spoke very good English. I found him very trustworthy. I understand our folks later assassinated him, and like to find the son of a bitch that did that.
There was one there by the name of Sakwa who spoke excellent English, but he worked for the VC as well. We found that out subsequent. That was late '69.
Yeah, the reason I have problems with Mike is him having the BC, because that was the accusation. He and I had been out alone. In fact, we had arranged for a battalion to Xoai and had gone out alone and met with them and whatnot. And it was one of these strange things where they were ethnic Cambodians and had come in across the border and had, the old French weapons, all of that stuff. But yeah, I just have a hard time because Mike and I have been in some pretty tight spots, and I always found him quite trustworthy.
Yeah, I remember their Cambodian names. I don't remember the American names.
Look, I'm looking through some papers over here, and your Captain Ball, Baul,
Yeah,
seemed to have remained there until August of '69. So I think it was the XO that was the one who was the turncoat.
correct.
Okay, so Ball was there.
But Quan, I just, this was later, they said that they were grooming him to take over the camp. I don't think even the Vietnamese army trusted Ball that much.
Ball was there up until about August of '69.
Okay.
He was promoted to
But he
major.
was a blatant crook.
Well, crook, yes, that's nothing. Now, he was replaced by Captain Sun, XUAN, about August of '68, well, '69 rather. But
I remember one time when the CO, the LLDB, or the American CO, got into a verbal argument with the LLDB CO. And the leader of the Cambods, after that argument, came up and said, "You want him dead?"
I had that experience as well.
Yeah.
And there were times Ball actually pulled a gun on me at least once. Yeah, it got pretty ugly. There was an incident where we had crossed the Vente Canal. Major attack, had a lot of weapons, and we had what was it, Apaches, I think, were supporting us. And I remember going up because I was having a huge fight with, it was LLDB or something, and I went to the Cobra that was sitting there, and I said, "Look, I'm having a problem. If I step back with my hands up, just hose them," because it was getting that tight.
John, when you were there, did you know Brian McDonald? He was the CEO that took over in '69.
No, like I said, I left, and whoever replaced me, and I just barely met him when they came in. I understand he got blown up, I think 6 weeks later.
Oh, okay. Okay, because
So-
Mac was a Tiwi. He was first lieutenant at the time. And then,
Holka.
pardon?
Holka was the guy who replaced John Alexander.
Oh, okay.
He was
And then
med,
Mac became Daiwi after that.
and then McDonald came in.
I would like to hear from people who were there after shit had hit the fan and they were getting mortared on a continuous basis. I haven't been able to talk to anybody who was there. Like I say, in our days, once in a while, if somebody'd lob a mortar or something, but it wasn't, anything serious, but they were getting hit. I understand that they said when they came off of Nui Kam, they had hit the post continuously for some time, and they were literally walking across the fields with weapons at high port, thinking that they weren't going to encounter any resistance, but they were able to call some snakes in, and it changed the configuration quite a bit.
I was.
Yeah, I knew McDonald.
What's that?
I knew McDonald. He was the camp commander when I got there in December of '69.
Yep.
And he was a captain then, Daiwi, and then he left and Fitzgerald took over from him.
Yeah, Mac and I used to go out on patrols a lot. In fact, you mentioned, John, Nui Kam being active. Nui Kam was very active when I was there. We could virtually make contact every time we went up. And
Yeah.
we had a patrol out, Mac and I. We got hit hard that morning. We took on about 3 companies of VC, and then we decided to follow them. We got hit in an ambush, and we were separated from our Cambods. And I had been hit, but nothing serious, fortunately. And we made it down off that hill about 18 hours later. But we kept in touch after he got out of the service, and he sadly passed away. So
Did you know
Mike-
Jamie Rosado?
Pardon?
Jamie Rosado would have been a lieutenant.
Rosado got hit, right?
Yeah,
He
I
was
know.
there.
He was one of my XOs, and I had seen later he got hit on Nui Kam and medevac.
Yeah, he was there when I got there, Rosado. And you knew Lenati then? Nick
sorry?
Lenati, top. He was Master Sergeant?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
Ron Henry was the team sergeant most of the time I
Okay.
was there.
Well,
He has
so-
since died. We were in contact after that, but he had moved to Colorado and whatnot.
Yeah, Rosado was, he was back on the team when I showed up. I ended up replacing Logan, Buzz Logan. Did you know him, Frank? Logan?
Francis?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
He
he was
was-
killed on
he was-
Kodo.
yeah, exactly, up on Kodo.
that's a war story that I tell. Kind of what happened was he had gone down. They were doing a sweep on Kodo. He was with a team and he had stopped at Boswai. He was working, I think, with Mike Force at the time.
Yep, he was.
But he contacted me on the radio. I happened to be on the radio watch at the time, and he sent me makeshift coordinates. If it was Big Nuts Joe or something like that, and he was sending it to me. And the point was, I could read the coordinates without knowing the code. And somebody else was listening, and they got hit that night, and was fatal.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was.
Arnold, you were there pretty close to the end when the camp was being turned over. What
Yep.
was your knowledge at the time?
Pardon?
Who's that, me?
Arnold Goodson,
Oh, hey, yeah.
you were there in 70. You're the last one up here.
Yeah, I was there in 70. And back even toward the end there, Botswana was, we would frequently get hit. I remember I had, cause it was towards the end, and I had a dog.
White one?
Yes,
Yeah, that Pecker.
it was Seawolf.
Okay, we had a little white one that we painted sergeant stripes on the side.
Yeah, no, I had Seawolf. Actually, I had him when I was up at the B team
Okay.
at B-43, and what was it? I think Dick, when you came in, since you were low on the totem pole, as I was, they made you the funds officer. Was that you? Who was that? That was the funds officer. How you used to go up and get the funds and come back and pay everybody.
That was me. I did that
yeah.
one time when I first got into country. I guess I was
Yeah.
still a second lieutenant, and I was the junior officer in C4, so I had to go pay everybody.
Oh, yeah. And so what happened was that we had they had a funds officer at B-43. And he got caught up in not being able to account for disbursements and so forth.
No. Is B-43 a Chilang?
That's Chilang.
Yeah, because that's see what happened. When I was there in '68, they suddenly dissolved B-42, which was a chow duck. And if you remember, they had been nailed really heavily during Tet. That's where Drew Dix ended up getting Medal of Honor. And then I had heard that the B team was then later reestablished at Chilang. But we were an independent A team during the time I was there.
Right. Well, I got, unfortunately, the funds officer, he didn't have a good rapport with some of the local merchants, that you would pay for different services and so forth. So he couldn't get he wasn't able to give me like interim receipt for cash or anything like that. So his books was all messed up. Well, I'm sitting down at that time, I'm sitting down at, I'm down at A-442, Tow Chow. And they called me up, and I came up, and I just had a little backpack with me that came up, and they sent me back to get bag and baggage to come up there and take over as the funds officer. So when I got there, I changed up the whole system, and not a lot of the LLDB, liked it, because it cut into their funds,
Yeah.
because they didn't have the control they once had before. So it was kind of like, watch your back. different camps.
Did
But what
you
happened?
happen to know John Nolan?
Say again?
Did you happen to know John Nolan?
Nolan?
Well,
Yeah.
Intel.
Yeah.
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 Okay. He
And
went on to create Phoenix
Right.
Corporation, which they sold for hundreds of millions of dollars to DynCorp and whatnot.
That's right. And I worked for DynCorp after I retired. But I
Okay.
didn't. But I didn't work overseas. I was here in the States. They had a contract with the Postal Service here in the States, DynCorp.
I
But-
just saw John down in Huntsville a couple months ago.
Oh, okay. Get back to so I had my dog, because I love the story. I had my I had my dog over when I was at B-43, and so someone went out one day on a little mission, and I guess Seawolf thought it was me or something, whatever. He went out and he got lost, but he made his way back finally. Well, by this time I'm at Xoai, and so they came in. They came over Secure Voice from shopping. Said they had a Pax on board, and he was going woof woof. I said, who's that? So they brought in my dog, and that's when I named him Seawolf. Because it was the Seawolf gunships that brought him in. And
Navy?
I asked the medic that was there when I got ready to leave, because it was towards the end. That before he left, because I didn't have time to quarantine Seawolf and so forth and bring him back to the States. So I asked my medic to put him down before he left, not leave him there for the Vietnamese and so forth. Do anyone remember was there at the time when who was it? Sergeant Sykes. Yeah, Sykes and Staff Sergeant Lawrence at 421.
Yeah, so Larry Sykes and Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah.
They were the combo guys.
Right. They were combo guys. And that's when I don't know if you recall when George Papard made a visit to A-421.
Yeah, I drove him around in the Jeep and we fed him fried chicken for lunch.
That's right. So, I don't know if you can see this.
There we,
I don't see this or not. That's me and Lawrence and what's the name? We're wait a minute, yeah. See where I can get it. With George Papard. That was in volume 5, number 8 in the Green Beret magazine. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go up to the VA and ask them to put it up on the wall or something. But anyhow, while I was at the B team, we would have the so-called night hunter killer team come in and fly out and do recons, try to draw fire and so forth. Then we call the Cobras in and work the areas and so forth. And then during the day, you would have daylight recon and have your CIDGs ready to load up on lift ships if you ran into something. And so I had to come back off night mission. Was not a lot of officers that were there very long, so the orientation to the terrain, which wasn't an easy thing to do down in that area, a lot of them didn't know it very well and so forth. I was there long enough where I was out quite a bit, so came back in, and it was the term for the He was the S1, I believe. And they were looking for him, and they couldn't locate him right away. So I told him, I said, well, I'm okay. You know, I just came in after being out night, but you know, I'll take the ride and go out on the recon. And he showed up just as they had cranked. I think it was I think Larry Gore was a helicopter pilot, Night 20. Yeah, Larry. And they went out, and he said, are you sure? I said, yeah, sure. Well, you know, if you want, I'll take the check ride. No, I'm here now. Take it. Sure enough, he went out, and 10 minutes later, they were inbound back to the camp, and he had taken 2 rounds and got killed. And he was a good friend, and you know, you get I'm sure, like all of y'all have had that survivor's remorse, so to speak, you know, trying to figure out, you know, why not me? But thanks be to God that we all made it some shape, form, fashion. And so I didn't stay, I left in, I think it was in September of 70. I think I left from Xoai, and you know, the place God abandoned. Remember that patch? Yeah.
Did any of you find a lot of activity off of Nui Tuong? We used to, in '69, we found a lot of activity from coming through Cambodia, across Nui Tuong and onto Nui Kham.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was quite a bit.
Like a super highway.
Did after some of you guys left now, did you come back to SF in the States or what? I came back to the 7th group.
I was sent up to Fort Devens into the 10th.
Oh, you were at the 10th up there? Yeah. That's now just Devens, Mass. Now, but yeah, I left from the 6th, the old 6th, and went to the 5th, and now I came back to the 7th, and stayed on. I wound up staying around Bragg for 14 years because I went over to from 7th group, and I went over to JFK Institute, where we were doing teaching low intensity conflict and things of that nature and so forth. And then after that, the training group battalion commander, he needed an XO. And so I went, he was a friend of mine, so I went and XO'd for him. He didn't have an XO, I XO'd for him. And they kind of restarted my clock, so to speak. And then I went to 11th group reserves, and with Charlie Company, which was out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and stayed there. But I spent a lot of short and long tour, a lot of them. So I was practically full time all the time. You know, back then you go get a 179-day tour, and you come to the last month of it and so forth, and you just get it redone again. You stay out for a day and come back. So, you know, they didn't want you to have that 180 days. But so that's what kept me around Bragg until 84. Left there and went up to, in fact, I went up by Devon's. I was up at Hanscom Air Force Base, used to be Hanscom Field. And stayed up there and then had another assignment, you know, back overseas, Panama and so forth. This was all full-time active duty. So it's been a blessing. It's good to see all you guys, man. I tell you, it is.
It is.
It
Hey,
is.
You mentioned the patch. Do you still have one?
Yes,
The Xoai patch?
Xoai
Yeah.
patch.
I was the one that designed that.
You designed the
I
patch.
designed it and had it made. I designed the patch and I had it made in Canto, and there were only 50 of them made. So that was it. So there's
Yeah.
50 of them.
I've
got one.
I got one down there with my uniform and stuff and so forth. Yeah. The place got abandoned. A-421.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there, let me ask, when you came in, was there still a sign over the gate that said what got abandoned? Because I'm the one who put that one up, and it came from
Okay, it was still there when I got
Ode
there.
to the Mercenary.
It
It
was
came
still
from the
there.
Ode to the Mercenary. I'm sorry.
I think
It was there in '69 when
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
off the chopper.
It was there, and
First thing
I got
saw.
there.
Well, both the patch and the signpost, I think, are featured in articles about Xoai in the Green Beret magazines.
Yeah.
right.
When it
Yeah, that's right.
came from what's called the Ode to the Mercenary, says what God abandoned, these defended, and saved the sum of things for pay.
I got interviewed for that magazine. In fact, I'm on one of the articles, the one magazine that showed the airboat on the cover.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they mentioned me in that one. But you said that you had George Papard. We had Martha Ray come down one time, stop in the camp for maybe a half an hour, if that. Came down, passed some medals out, and then left.
Oh, really?
She pee on the floor.
Yeah.
No,
that was before my time.
Yeah.
we had George Goebel. We had an inbound call on one of the choppers that they had a celebrity on board, and they said it was George Goebel. One of the guys said, "No way." Ran out and dropped a couple of mortar rounds out in the field. Said, "We're taking incoming fire." And that chopper just bypassed our camp and kept going.
Well, my experience, not with you, but it was the others. We had Air America come in, and they're circling at 5,000 feet, and they're saying, "Is it safe to land?" And, shit, we live here. I mean, haven't taken a round in days, so.
Did you work with Project Duffel Bag there? The sensor system that
No.
was on the top floor of the common bunker?
No.
Was that the listening post, the listening things? They would triangulate the mortar rounds. Yeah, we worked with them quite a bit.
We had a lieutenant come in from the Navy, Pat Donovan, who couldn't have been there more than maybe a week or so, and went out in one of the ops with McDonald and got shot and killed. But he worked at Project Duffel Bag there.
I think it may have started. I had a lieutenant come in, and turns out later, because they said he cannot leave the post, and everybody was going on operations, but this guy was prohibited from leaving. Turns out he was working for NSA, and they were doing the radio research unit.
Yeah.
By the way, when I left, I was at Fort Hood and ended up at something called Project Master. You may or may not have heard about it, but it was the sensor systems where they were developing all of the new sensor systems that were going over there.
Yeah, they had
Pretty interesting stuff.
acoustic.
Work with Jack Senglab there.
You had a bunch of experimental things going on in your camp. In '67, there were 2 searchlight teams that came in,
Yeah, we had Flashy.
and then duffel bag, and you had this Donovan guy who I'm not sure exactly what he was involved in.
He was Navy.
Yeah. But what was he doing at the camp?
Pardon?
What was he doing at the camp?
He was working the Project Duffel Bag.
Yeah, okay.
We made Flashy airborne. They kept saying they wanted to jump. One day we got a helicopter that was coming in, and their jump training was, when I jump, you jump. If you get below me, pull this. Obviously, it went pretty well, but.
Jeff Berry?
Mike, it's Mike.
Mute yourself.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, there we
muted
go.
and just listening along. Yeah, I was over at Bachuk, 429 Bravo, from, I guess about September of '66 until, I think it was November of '66. And then I went up, got levied to go up on a train, which nobody really wanted to do. But, get too close to the flagpole.
Mm.
So you're the earliest guy we've got here on the screen today. So tell us a little bit about life in 1966.
It was, both Xoai and Bachuk were, it was kind of primitive. And the activity there, except for one period during that I was down there, was quiet. Real low level things going on. A lot of sneaking across the border, and they drop a few mortar rounds and then flee back into Cambodia. But the Seven Mountains, had a lot of activity, and they finally brought in the Fourth Corps Mike Force. I want to say the end of October, and they went up and found a bunch of ammunition caches up in Nui Koto or Nui Jai, and it was low level. There was only 6 of us over at Bachuk, and I think we're the tripwire. We're just sitting over there. But as luck would have it, things were pretty calm. I was interested a few years ago when I was doing some research, and they had a deal in one of the Bangkok newspapers about the Skull Pagoda at Bachuk, and the Cambodian excursion into Vietnam in the '70s that came across. And a couple of friends of mine went in to Bachuk in I think about '98, and got a real warm reception, because the Cambodians were enemy number 1 at that point. But it was it's interesting, and most of the people that I knew at that period, on Steve's roster, have deceased after him. I look at that sometimes, and I wonder, as Brother Goodson said, the good Lord takes care of you in strange ways. I'm 77 now, and I'm still vertical, which is always a good thing to be looking at. You count your blessings right there.
Yeah, it's better to be seen than it is to be viewed.
Yeah.
In the Bachuk massacre, by the way, there was only one survivor, and that was a woman who had been both shot and hit in the head with a machete, and was the only one that did survive. So they went in, as you were not here earlier, when I was there was shooting a documentary. The whole ethnic cleansing had taken place.
Yeah,
And that was Khmer Rouge that had come across and killed the ethnic Cambodians.
What
Yeah.
year was that? What year was that, man?
was that for me, Arnold?
Oh,
You know, what year was that when the Bachuk massacre that happened
It's in the 70s.
in the 70s, right? Yeah.
Look up the date.
But-
If you just Google Bachuk massacre, it'll come up and explain what that. They had told everybody, well, you got to move out, you'll be safe, and all of that. And they exited, and once they got them outside in the open area, they killed them all.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because one of the guys I knew who became a refugee from Cambodia when we moved to Texas in '95, he had been a little kid in one of the towns just on the other side of the Cambodian border. And he had gone to the old regime's Naval Academy and then got sent to the States to learn English. The languages he had grew up learning were Russian and Chinese. So he went to Lackland to learn English to go to a school, and then Cambodia went belly up in the 70s, and he got stuck here, ended up going to Texas A&I up in Kingsville at the time. But, you know, you run across, you know, some strange stories about what some of those people went through. You know, I certainly believe John Alexander's comment about the one lady getting hit in the head and surviving. It was pretty ruthless over there on that side of the border. And obviously, you know, I can understand why the animosity between the Vietnamese and the Cambodians even today.
Oh, yes.
That was in April of 1978 that event happened.
Yeah.
And I put it in the chat section if anybody wants to see it. Ron Howells?
I might ask if anybody else, Nick Rowe was recovered just about the time that I was there. We used to launch operations when we'd hear about a round eye traveling with them. And we knew he was in the area, but he was recovered December of '68. I just wonder if
68.
anybody was familiar with any more of that.
That was further to the
Oh, yeah.
to the southern to the Khao Mau Peninsula, much further
Right.
to the east.
Yeah, when I came back to when I came back to Bragg, Nick had he had set up the SEER program,
Right.
and so I was there with him. As a matter of fact, he came when he got back. He came and came up to Winston-Salem to do a classified briefing. I mean, you couldn't be in a room if you didn't have the proper clearance and need to know from some of the things that he would, you know, share with us as what happened. Of course, Nick wrote the book 5 Years of Freedom.
Right.
And I think when he got rescued, he got, and they got him on the chopper, and I think Nick had been promoted during the time period as the time had gone on and so forth.
Right.
Yeah, and they told him, they said, welcome home. I think at that time he was a major.
Correct.
Yeah, they said, welcome home, major. But the thing was, once he got into, I guess it was into Nha Trang, when they got ready to debrief him, as I understand, they read him his rights. Yeah, as I understand now, I never asked Nick about it because I was right there with him at Bragg, but and of course that just set him off. He was before a board and they wanted to debrief him and so forth, and they read him his rights, and he just lost it. Fortunately, there was the board was, I don't know if it was in Nha Trang or not. It was probably somewhere else because the board wasn't all SF. But the board that he went before to be debriefed or whatever had an SF member on the board. And the SF member, as I understand, was the one that spoke to him and got him to calm down and so forth. And I think he got his wife divorced him while he was a POW, right? After they broke his cover.
I don't know if they had another wife at that time, but the wife that he was known for here in Texas was with him for a long time.
Right. And then of course I think Jane Fonda was hooked up in that.
Hey, done speaking.
In a way, which wind up breaking his cover, so to speak.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
You can't see me.
can't see you, Ron.
I'm trying to
Hey,
get
Ron,
the
it's Mike,
Turn your video on.
Mike Berry here. How you doing?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Doing good.
Hey, I'm sorry I didn't get back with you, man, but I have been swamped.
Yeah, turn your video on.
I'm trying to.
Oh,
I'm not sure how to do it.
You had it earlier.
Yeah, I know. You guys were talking about Nick Rowe, right? Hey, Mr. Goodson, when you went out there with Nick to Camp McCall, right? You there?
yeah.
I was out there as a chief instructor for phase 1 at the time.
Oh, okay.
And then when Nick left and went to the Philippines,
Yeah.
of course, we all know what happened after that.
Right. Yep.
I am sure trying to get a hold of this daggone Zoom thing so I can get in here so you can see me. But I'm not sure how to do it. Yeah.
There's a thing down at the lower left-hand corner next to the mute. It says
Well, he's
stop
on-
video. Maybe that's it.
He's on an iPhone, so it's upside down.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute.
Ron,
Oh,
so
how about now?
There you go.
I can see you and I can hear you. Good deal. How about that?
I'm sorry I was late, but I got tied in the sheriff's office. So how you guys doing? Y'all look good.
A little bit older.
Yeah, just a little bit older.
Ron, why don't you chime in with your recollections of Xoai?
Well, I don't know if Mike told you. When I went to Xoai, it was just after the first major attack. Just after the two light guys that got killed up there. They were both killed inside the bunker on the top of the hill.
Are you talking about Chuk?
No, I'm talking about
No.
right in Xoai.
Bus-one.
Okay.
What year was that? Because I just sent John Nolan some pictures that I had that showed where, the big wall and then the stone wall had been breached. This was the inner wall, and then by the team house.
Oh, that was the
and
US Navy communication center
yeah.
that got blown up in the first attack.
What's the time frame on that?
That was 69.
Ooh, not early.
Yeah,
See,
it was,
when
because
we
I
were
came
there,
in,
there was a major shift.
Now that would have been the
So
beginning.
I was there in '68. The enemy at that time was all VC. And then later the NBA came in and with them upgraded equipment and whatnot. So heavier weapons came in. And so you guys that were there later were facing just basically a totally different adversary.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Who's that, Mike?
yeah, I came in, in fact, when I came in, this is early December, and they put me at the B team first, and then we had to take something out that they'd got hit the night before, Xoai. So we went out on a Huey and we're orbiting the camp, and it's just nothing but smoke. And that's when they hit them the night before, and that's when the two guys got killed. They threw a satchel in their bunker and killed the two of them.
I was at P-43 the same time that you were.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Then once after that, matter of fact, I think me and you were on the same chopper. It went in there and got those boys and took them back to B-43. I'm not sure.
I don't remember, them pulling them out, but I know that, I think then I got the Xoai maybe a week or two later. Then I got it signed there.
Yeah, I must have got there probably. I'm trying to remember when the light weapons leader Miller left. He left just before that attack, and then I came out there.
I show you coming around the beginning of January.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But it was a great experience, I'll tell you. A bunch of great guys. I love them all.
Hey, gentlemen, it's been great. I've got to go on a medical appointment. So I'll see you later.
All right, sure. Thanks.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care and stay well and stay healthy.
I'll
We'll try.
It would seem from the map and from the history of Xoai that you really were there to prevent encroachment from the other side.
Yeah, we were there to stop the NBA from approaching into the Seven Mountains area from Cambodia.
Yeah, but you had the troubles that you had were the mountains that were right up on the other side of you.
That's right.
Mike Force and the Trang Mike Force and the 4-Corps Mike Force spent a lot of time, as did you guys, playing around in the piles of rocks that you guys had on your front door.
Well, we had, when I was there, we had the base of the hill, we had camps on the top, and they owned everything in between. pretty clear where the demarcation was. I might mention that west of Bachuk, if you went out, I forget not exactly how far, but it was like 50 meters beyond artillery range was this huge trail, because they knew exactly how far we could shoot and just tracked down beyond them.
Well, I don't know. Hey, Mike, do you remember when the B-52 strike went in?
Well, we had B-52 strikes. Arc lights were going in constantly. They'd come in, the ground would rumble, and not much serious would happen. But
well, that's for sure.
It'll be what, 15, 20 minutes later, Mike. they throw a round out.
There you go. I don't even think the smoke cleared off of Nui Kham before they put a couple rounds into our camp.
That's right.
All right, here's another series of pictures here from one of the Mike Force commanders. And somewhere, if I go down here far enough. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it is.
There we are, Nui Kodo.
Yep.
Yeah.
That looks like, yeah, let's see.
Oh, that was an area that was always problematic, and they had 50s mounted in there that would shoot out and chase the helicopters off.
Where the
Yeah,
hell?
Ron, you remember we had a 106 on top of the mountain. We used to shoot
Yep.
H&I fire over
Yep.
onto the mountain.
Well, we had the 106 down on the flat on the let's see, northeast, south, on the west hand side.
We had one on the top of the hill too.
On the knoll.
You had to lug a round up every time you wanted to shoot. And we took when the project duffel bag left, they left a bunch of equipment. And there was a mount that for a telescopic sight that they used to sight the antennas in. And it
Yeah.
would fit perfectly on top of a Mod Deuce feed tray. So you put that sucker down there and you'd use the scope to try to find, anybody moving around or whatever. And then fire a couple spotting rounds till you got her in, and then chuck one of the big ones in.
Well, that was the 106 that was on top of the mountain. The 105 was down there on the west side.
Well,
Yeah, we had
I had one in a Jeep.
let me tell you about that 105. That was brought in by, I had a scrounger, some of you may know Govea, and he was so, you could not have him in camp. If he was in camp, some kind of fight was going to break out among people, but he was a phenomenal scrounger, and he had gone out with a Thompson, and he traded the Thompson for a Chinook to fly the 105 in. Now, the problem that I had is because the boss had called me from C team, this is how are you going to feed it, because I didn't have a 105 on the TO&E.
Yeah, right.
Fast forward years later, I was telling the story at lunch at Fort Hood, and this colonel jumps up and said, "You son of a bitch, you stole my 105. Turns out there were 6 of them that had been specially procured by Congress that were sent in, and this was one of those 105s. But it was great because we could now reach out a lot farther.
That's a special forces way of accumulating material.
Oh yeah. Well,
So,
somebody mentioned food earlier, because one of the things he did was kept us fed. I mean, we had lobster and steaks, and we had so much food that we had to go to the various teams around the area to use their freezers to keep it. We'd trade, because he was getting it literally from the ambassador's mess in Saigon.
Hey, Mike, we didn't have a chance like that, did we?
Yeah.
No, we ate pretty good though, if I remember.
Good, but I mean, we didn't eat that good.
No, we didn't eat that good. We did have steaks in that.
Yeah, we did have steaks when everybody got back from Canto with the money and the food.
Gavia is still alive, living in Florida. He doesn't have internet connection, but I talked to him on the 16th of this month, 4 days ago.
Who's that?
Gavia.
Oh,
I've got to punch out as well. I've got an appointment that I've got to take my wife to. So, been great. Thank you.
all right, there, John. Take care, man. The best to you.
Yeah, John.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
John, I've been trying to get your article there it won't, something wrong with the link, on the email I got there. I'd like to get a copy of that article on, the hood went to hell.
That article should be on my website on the 421 page.
Okay.
Okay.
And always up for corrections or additions. I'm not going to write a new one, but I would be interested in knowing other perspectives on it.
Only the spelling of that Captain Ball, B-A-U-L, not A-L-L. That's minor.
I'll plead guilty.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
you ever talk to Captain Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I talked to him.
No, I haven't.
I'm surprised he's not here.
Yeah, I sent him an email, but he didn't answer me, so I don't know.
No, I take that back. The email I had found.
Was wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong with it. I talked to him in 2012 was the last time I actually talked to him.
Oh,
I tried to call him many times to correct the email which bounces. The MK Steve Fitz at AOL.com.
yeah.
He was in Oceanside, California.
You don't have a phone number for him, do you?
Well, the number I have just as an answer machine. This is Steve. Leave a message.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think the last time he came back and said the mailbox is full because I already left so many messages.
How about Lieutenant Latham?
Yes, I'm surprised he's not here. He emailed me saying he would be here.
Well, I just let me just say a couple of things to Mike for a minute. Hey, Mike, I didn't mean to not get back with you, but after COVID and all the police departments that we service with firing ranges, we must have put in 12 ranges since the last time I saw you. And plus, I work for the pest.
Wow, that's a lot.
So I'm so tied up sometimes I catch myself coming and going. So I just want to apologize to you for that.
No, don't worry about it. No. I should have got back to you too. So,
Well, I'll get as soon as as soon as I get a break, I will call you and we can make the arrangement so we can get back together again.
yeah, I'll come over because you came over here last time. So,
Well, it don't make a difference either way.
whatever.
I got the
Yeah, it'll work.
okay. I got all of the slides put together, but they're not all in the right time frame. But I'll put that together as soon as I get a little chance.
Is anybody up around the Atlanta area?
Yeah, I live north of Atlanta, about 60, 70 miles. The Calhoun.
You up in Calhoun?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm down in Jonesboro.
Okay. Yeah.
About 20 minutes south of Atlanta.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all the guys that were on that you sent the emails to, most of them are correct, right?
Yes.
Well, maybe some way, sometime we can get everybody to maybe have a get together of all the guys who were at Xoai.
Well, you have a fair number of people, really. The B team was very disappointing this morning because there were only 4 guys who were there. Let's send out less than 10 emails because everybody was gone on that team. This one, I sent out about 30 emails. I'm very disappointed to see how many of the 30 showed up. You guys have done a good job representing them, however. But there's enough emails on that address list for you to contact other people. And there's nothing preventing you from hosting your own Zoom meeting for the people who are there at your time or whoever you want to talk to. Zoom is free for 40 minutes at a time. It's not a very complicated thing to work with. If you have problems, you can give me a call, but I've got to move on from one camp to the next. I've been doing this now for about 8 months, and I got probably 2 more months to go before I finish the whole country.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a lot of camps.
That's a lot of camps.
Yes, it was.
So, but you guys have got to encourage your peers to come out because I can find them. I located them all. Those who are going to be located, I found them. The rest of them probably not going to be located. So take the list I have and work on it because those are your friends. Those are the people you want.
Now, Steve, what's your website?
SpecialForcesBooks.com.
SpecialForcesBooks.com?
Right, books, plural. Don't go to sfbooks.com. Otherwise, you'll end up in a gay bookstore in San Francisco.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
The other thing I have is called SpecialForcesPhotos.com. I don't have much imagination when it comes to naming websites. But that website, you go up there and you register with your whole name. Your first name, middle initial, last name. Anything else other than that, I dump you because you're probably a bot. I get attacked by bots on that website all the time.
Yeah.
So I dump everybody whose name I don't recognize as being exactly in my database. If you said Barry 234, you're out. You got to be Michael X Barry, whatever.
Right.
But the nice thing about that website is there are albums for every camp in Vietnam, and you can put your own pictures up in those albums, and you can put in the caption on the pictures, and somebody else can come by and say, "I'm the third guy from the left." So it's a very useful website if everybody would make use of it.
And you put that on that, you sent that to me on your email, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, look, I'm going to have to pull out because I'm going to have to get back to work.
All right.
I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you, Steve.
Very well.
I'm glad I was able to find
Hey, Mike,
Take care, Ron.
with you, man.
I'm gonna bail out myself, Steve. So you
Before
stay
everybody
well.
bails out entirely, let me put a couple of advertisements out to you. One of which is the Green Beret magazines, which we've talked about here. They're available on my website, and all 52 magazines there, and they're all indexed, so you can find everybody on what page they're on.
Cool. All right.
And then the other thing that I put in there was I've been working on a series of books there are like 12 articles a year on Vietnam, the second Indochina War, from 1963 to 1975. And they're written by some really good people. I was the editor, so I chose what articles would be there. So it's probably a little bit more about special forces than might otherwise be seen. And then finally, the third thing is on my signature block, I have something called vvfhmag.org. And what that is I've printed 6 magazines. They're all free downloads, and they're topics. I choose the topic and I find people to write for it. This one is particularly unusual because it's what's called a graphic novel, a comic book in our terminology, and it's designed to make the Vietnam War understandable to young people who don't read books.
That would be better for the Marines, right?
Yeah. Well, every time you give a break,
Comic book?
remember that.
Anyway, those are all up on that website. Talking about the Marines, I have a friend here in Houston whose son went into Special Forces, and he said, and he was a Marine in Vietnam, but he said, my son went into Special Forces because he flunked the Marine IQ test. He scored too high.
All right, Steve, I'm gonna bail out. So you stay well. Thank you for
All right,
doing
guys.
it.
You do the same, man. I'm going to bail too. You guys take care. And thank you, Steve.
Okay, Bill, Ron, y'all take care.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna pull
Yep.
out myself. It is great seeing all of you. Let's do it again, and God keep us all.
There you
got
go.
the contacts on the email I sent you, so use them because I've got to keep on trucking here.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, I got a quick question.
Okay, hold on a minute here. Go ahead and talk.
Yeah, okay. In the Xoai roster that you've got online, in one of the columns of my name, it's got DOSOA. What's that mean?
I don't know. Are you asking
I don't
Steve?
know. That's why I'm asking. I couldn't find. Yeah, I'm asking Steve.
No, I
He's
don't
on
know.
the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Busy
That's
guy.
probably something nasty.
To ask Steve about that.
Yeah, Steve, you there?
I'm back again.
He was on the phone.
I
There he is.
answered my
Hey,
wife.
Steve, next to my name on the roster, It's got DOSOA. What's that mean? I couldn't find it anywhere.
That's date of something from service.
Call from Sherman, yes.
Oh, hold on again. My wife is calling me back. Hello? No, I don't know. Okay. That's date of, like, it's the end of your service date. Mike? Can you hear me? Everything's
Was it B what?
DOSOA, date of service, something, the end of service.
Oh, the end of service date. Okay, yeah.
So, you know, if somebody
Whatever it means. I don't know.
somebody went home, and they're staying in the service, it
I
wouldn't
didn't
say,
put it in there.
but if it said DOSA, DOSOA, or whatever it is, then that was a note that they actually were leaving the service at that point.
Okay. Which I did, but I came back.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Nope.
Nope. I just want to wish all you guys the very best, man, and watch after yourselves. Okay.
Got to. You
All right.
too.
Man. I'll get a hold of you, Mike, later on. Okay.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, sir. All right, guys. Take care.
Masalama.
Arnold, I saw that article here in the Green Beret magazine. You look good at that. You're a little bit younger than you are now.
Oh, yeah. Younger, slimmer, all of it.
All of the above. Yeah. But that was the same issue that you had. There was another article about Xoai.
Yeah.
So that was quite an interesting issue.
Yeah, that's the one we're firing. They got me in the flashy up there firing the 106. And they got Lawrence up on the Camo Tower on one of the antennas.
Yeah, got him up on the tower there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your patch.
Yeah. My patch is in there.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's only 50 of them that were made. So anything else is these ones you see on eBay, the subdued ones, those are fake.
There's a lot of fakes, and I'll tell you, hold on to your patches, but tell your kids not to sell them at a garage sale after you're gone. Because the real collectors know the difference, and they buy them at very, very high prices.
Yeah, there's a guy out there. I can't remember his name. I've got it somewhere, but he's
That
written a
probably
couple
be
of
Jason
books.
Hardy.
Jason Hardy. He told me it's worth at least $1,200.
Yeah, he's the expert. He really is, and I have sent a lot of people to him, and they have reported back that they were really impressed.
Yeah.
How fair his prices were. But he doesn't have to worry about fair prices, because if his name is on it, people will buy it from him because he's verified it.
He's validated it. Yeah, right.
So, but you know, I put my beret and my knife. I'm not really selling because I don't want to sell them. But when I'm gone, my kids don't have any use for it. So I told them, Jason Hardy. I actually put it.
Yeah, right. Good for you. Good. That's a good idea.
So anyway, well, I'm going to shut off the recording here. There's the recording.